What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Pack-A-Day Live. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Appreciate you all being here. Make sure to get your questions in. We'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. Looks like questions are pretty blank right now. So if you want to get your question in, we have got the ability to do so. I'm like now worried. Somebody post a question because I'm worried that maybe I have like comments turned off or something. And hopefully that's not the case. But happy to be here. Obviously going to talk a lot about Packers Colts. And yeah, now I'm worried. You guys put something in the chat, making sure, because I know this happened once before where I did not have comments turned on somehow. Let's make sure. Give me 1 second. There we go. All right. Just making sure. All right. Do we have hope for Malik this Sunday? All right. That's a great place to start. I think there's always hope. Certainly it's a home opener. You have a quarterback that I think this is sort of a little bit of a lottery ticket, right? And I'm not talking about the lottery ticket that we talked about with Jordan Love all the time of like, what could he become? Could he be the next big thing? Could he be the highest paid quarterback in all of football, at least for a couple of weeks until Dak got his new contract? So I don't think we're talking about that here, but he has a little bit more of a lottery ticket effect of like what he can bring you in the game. He is clearly extremely athletic. He has a very live arm. Now, one of the problems that he has is he holds the ball a little bit too long. That's been a common thread for him. This Matt LaFleur offense is very much based on timing. You got to get rid of the ball. But I think Matt's kind of learned from Jordan. And one of the things that he really worked with Jordan on early on was just, hey, trust what you see and rip the ball and let it go. And, don't try to aim it. Don't try to guide it. Don't try to be too perfect. Just get it, hit your drop and rip it and trust what you're seeing. And if Matt can get a little of that into Malik Willis, you hope that there's a thread of hope here that what he was doing in the preseason is legit. Now, it was with backups against backups. He was getting in late in games. He was the number 3 quarterback in Tennessee. We saw Will Levis this past week have a very difficult time in Tennessee. So the fact that he was the number 3 guy behind that is obviously not super encouraging, but he has a very talented skill set. You've got a very good offense, chock full of weapons, a good running game, a very smart head coach. And what you're expecting is that he doesn't have to do the heavy lifting, that Matt's going to get him a few of those premium looks, that you just need to be accurate with the ball when you have those layups. You got to, probably hit a play here or there, meaning that you've maybe got to go outside of your comfort zone and maybe hit a throw that you have to have on a 3rd down or a 4th down, whatever it might be. Be efficient in the red zone, use your legs when you can, and be dynamic that way. But yes, I think there is very much a way that Malik Willis can put together a solid game. And I look at it, I talked to Aaron Nagler about this today, and that'll be for Pack-A-Day members and Cheesehead TV subscribers tomorrow, is, the Bears won this past week against those Tennessee Titans with Caleb Williams doing absolutely nothing, right? And the Pittsburgh Steelers with Justin Fields at quarterback won with, 6 field goals? The quarterback play is a little bit up and down around the league right now. And Anthony Richardson is certainly an embodiment of that to the extreme, where he's going to do some things that wow you. There's going to be some chaotic moments from him too. So if you can just get a solid, C+, B- game out of Malik Willis, yes, I think Green Bay will have a chance in this one, but everyone's going to have to do their 111th on both sides of the ball and on special teams. You cannot leave points on the field. Green Bay left far too many points on the field against Philadelphia, and it cost them. And in a game like this, where those opportunities are going to be fewer and fewer because you do not have QB1, or at least you're unlikely to have QB1 in this game, when you do get in those situations, and it might be a 55-yard field goal, it might be a 53-yard field goal, whatever it is, you better make it. It might be a must-have 2-point conversion. You better make it. It might be 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. You better make it. You can't leave those points out on the field. If they do, they're probably going to lose. If they're efficient with it and take advantage of those opportunities, they have every right to be in this and win this game at the end. No way J-Love plays in the next 2 games. I don't necessarily agree with that, Camilo. I think it's highly, highly unlikely that he plays this week. I'd be pretty stunned. Maybe this is just dumb hope, but I still wouldn't rule it out entirely, but I think it's extremely unlikely. And then I think there is a chance that next week he can play. Again, not reporting anything, don't know the logistics of it, but I do think there's gamesmanship of what's going on with Matt and saying that, hey, he could go, and it's probably just not the case. But we've seen quarterbacks, maybe not quite as mobile, but give it a go in these situations. They're going to be extremely cautious. We know Green Bay always will be, especially with their new investment as QB1. But I don't think it's impossible that he could play against Tennessee. I'm still holding out hope, with your point of 2 weeks, I'm holding out hope Minnesota. I'm hoping they go 1-1 against Tennessee in Indy. Get one of those games, see if Jordan can get back for Minnesota, pick up that, go to 2-2, and start your season really against the Rams with a fresh slate. That would be, I think everyone should be signing up for that scenario right now. 1-1 the next 2 weeks without Jordan, 1-0 against the Vikings, hopefully with Jordan, and then start your season over. Start there. And I think everyone, like I said, would be very, very pleased with that. Jonathan, good to see you. Love what you've been rocking with. Love what you do. Been rocking with you for 4 years. Vince Dallas, appreciate that a ton. Like I always say, those comments mean the world. It's always fun talking Packers with you guys. So appreciate that you're along for the ride and are enjoying the content. And hopefully you guys are seeing more of it, right? There's a lot right now. We got Ross Uglum doing bonus episodes. We got Camille Davis going to be doing more of some quick hit episodes, maybe, 3 to 7 minutes on a topic when it breaks or when, there's something interesting to talk about. Obviously some bonus episodes from myself. Dusty came on with Ross these last few weeks, which have been absolutely awesome. So you're seeing even more and more. And then tomorrow, me and Aaron Nagler for members only as well. So you're going to get a lot more content here, on Pack-A-Day coming up. And it hopefully for those of you who are members are enjoying that. And even those are not, you're still getting a daily episode from me and usually some extra stuff as well. So again, hope you guys are all enjoying it. Big Papa Penguin, what position group are you most looking forward to watching this weekend? That's a great question. You know what? This is cheap and I'm so sorry, but it's quarterback. Whether it's Jordan, playing on one leg and seeing what he can do with probably a very limited, just mobility and how he can kind of move and, or shocks us and he's actually doing okay moving, like that would be intriguing in and of itself. But if it's Malik Willis, hell yeah. I want to see what that dude has. I want to see how they get him going in the, the running game. And if they use him a little bit more on some read option stuff and some keepers. So, I hate to be a cop out here, but it's absolutely quarterback. That will be, a lot of times I will nerd out and give you some it's, it's the gunner on special teams or something bizarre. But this week it is a very obvious one. I'm most excited to watch quarterback. If that doesn't count, if I can't be cheap with QB, I think I'm going to probably go linebacker. I want to see how Quay and Isaiah McDuffie, how much more they use Edgerrin Cooper, Eric Wilson getting in there a couple snaps. Do they start to get Tyron Hopper involved a little bit as well? Those are the things that I really want to see. So I would say QB is 1 and then linebacker would be number 2. Dragonisk Iwat. I don't know if I'm missing something there, but thank you so much for becoming a brand new YouTube member. Really appreciate that a ton. Not sure how you pronounce that, so my apologies. Shane Saunders, thank you for the super chat. For those of you who don't know, super chats will always go to the top of the list. So if you do have a super chat you want to get in, make sure to get it in. And that will, like I said, make sure I get those answered. Should be here for about 45 minutes to an hour, probably about 45 minutes more at this point. So I'll try to get as much as I can. But if you want to ensure that your question gets answered, make sure to get those super chats in. Hot take on the linebackers after one game. I don't know that I have a hot take on anything after that game based on the field conditions. It's a really tough opponent to go against in week 1. It's basically your pseudo preseason game. You're playing an international game in Brazil. I'm more apt to say, throw that thing in the freaking trash. And the only thing that probably matters from that game is one, that you end up with a loss in the loss column, which sucks. And then of course, Jordan's injury. Like those are the 2 takeaways from that game. Am I concerned about the defense? No. Do I wish it was better looking in week 1? Yeah, hell yeah. But I'm not ultimately super concerned about it yet. And the offense honestly looked like a Matt LaFleur-led offense with a lot of weapons that stalled out in the red zone uncharacteristically, and they'll get that cleaned up, and I'm not worried about that at all. So assuming Jordan comes back healthy at some point in the near future, the offense is going to be totally fine. I think this is a building step for the defense, and they'll continue to get better. As far as the linebackers themselves go, I thought Quay was up and down. I think it went unnoticed that Quay actually made some pretty impressive plays in this game as well. There's one play where he had a tackle for loss on Saquon where he identified it, shot his gap, got in the backfield and made a tackle for loss. It was a beautiful play. I think people also don't necessarily remember that on the Xavier McKinney interception, Quay Walker's running right down the seam with that. I don't know if I can't remember if it's a wide receiver or a tight end that he's running with on that play, but he's running step for step. And that would have been a very difficult completion, even if Xavier McKinney wasn't there. That's a tough play for a linebacker. So he actually did some good things. Obviously, there were some things that he would like to have back and that needs to get cleaned up, and it's just still too inconsistent. But there were some plays that did open my eyebrows a little bit and go, that's a little bit different than some of the stuff that we've seen in the past. McDuffie, I was higher on than most. The wheel route, man, that is a tough ask for any linebacker in this league. That is a mismatch all day, every day. I actually think that there's an argument to be made that McDuffie, how close he got on that, is actually better than I think the vast majority of linebackers do in the league in that given that exact same situation. That is a isolated wheel route where, could maybe McDuffie have identified it a bit sooner? Could he have maybe taken a little bit better of an angle? Yes. Is it still a slight negative grade for him on that play? Yes. But man, that is asking a lot of a linebacker in that situation against a dynamic player like Saquon Barkley, especially when the throw is perfect and it's still along the sidelines, and McDuffie still gets his hand in there. So, or at least, right there to contest it. So I actually didn't think that was as brutal of a play as maybe it looks like on the TV copy. And then I thought, we wanted to really hear about or see guys rallying to the football and, playing this new aggressive style of defense. I didn't think there was anyone in the game that rallied to the football and was sprinting to the ball almost every single time better than Isaiah McDuffie. So was it a perfect game from him? Absolutely not. But I was actually, I think, a lot higher on him than a lot of other people were in this game. And then Edgerrin Cooper, we all saw, the dude is a freak athlete. And you just want to continue to get him more reps so he can learn this defense better. Matt LaFleur mentioned in the post-game presser about how there was a mistake that he made. I forget if it was an assignment or an alignment, one of the two. So those are things that are going to happen with a rookie anywhere on the field. It's a new position basically for him. And you might be saying he was a linebacker in college. He's a linebacker now. What do you mean? His linebacker position in college was an athlete position. It's a run and chase position. You're not taking on blocks. They're putting you almost in the slot as a weak side guy. You're doing some coverage and then you're just reacting and running to the ball. It is nothing like a 2 linebacker system in the NFL. So he's in a way learning a new position. He's very young, extremely athletic, and it's going to take a little bit of time, but I don't think anyone that saw that game from him thought, don't get him on the field more. You want him on the field as much as possible because he is a special playmaker. So also we're going to be interested to see if they, we saw 10, 11 snaps for Edgerrin Cooper in this game. At some point, do they try to get 10, 11 snaps for Tyron Hopper at some point? That's why I said linebacker to me, outside of quarterback this week, the second most intriguing position. Vex Breer said both teams weren't playing man due to the field, but both these teams have the same field as used for the game. Thoughts? It was in poor condition. And I talked to somebody who was there on the field, and they said, as bad as it looked on tape or on the game day footage or whatever, on the TV, it was worse in person. So yes, it was the same style of grass that the Eagles and the Packers both use, but it was not in good condition, and they watered it and probably didn't need to. And it was just, we all saw, listen, yes, could they use different cleats from time? We saw professional athletes who are at the peak of their ability sliding all over the field, all throughout the game from both the Eagles and the Packers. Sometimes there's only so much you can do. And the field just was what it was. And yes, I think we had to see a different brand of football because of it. It sucks all the way around. And that's why I said, outside of the Jordan injury and unfortunately having that tick in the loss column, kind of take that one and throw it out the window. I'm not super concerned by it. Let's see what this looks like. And by the way, too, the Eagles is a really tough matchup on defense, regardless of what field you're on. It's just sort of a nightmare scenario all the way around. I'm not ultimately that concerned over it. And I do think we will see a little bit more man-to-man, but there were man-to-man instances and Green Bay got beat on it too. And it had nothing to do with the field. So they got to be better in their man-to-man concepts as well when they do want to call those plays. All right. P.S. Cut Josh Myers. Yes, I know, not happening. Here's the thing with Josh. First and foremost, what he does at the line of scrimmage from a checks and calls standpoint and communicating with the quarterback is massively important. So can Elton do some of that stuff? Yeah, probably. Could Zach Tom maybe do some of that if he was given the opportunity? Yeah, maybe. But I don't think Jacob Monk's coming in and doing that right now. I think that'll be something maybe they challenge him a little bit more with in 2025. I don't think Sean Ryan's going to be at that level. So his communication ability at the line is important. And especially with Jordan out right now, his ability to make all those checks so that Malik doesn't have to go through more at the line of scrimmage is going to be ultra important. So that's a very valuable piece of this offense. The second thing is, you guys probably know by now, I'm not a big Josh Myers guy. I've been wanting more competition there forever, pretty much. But I don't think that if he's your 5th offensive lineman, which I think is safe to, potentially assume, I think Rashid, Zach Tom, Elton Jenkins, and I think if not there already, I think Jordan Morgan will get ahead of him too. If he's the 5th guy in your offensive line, you're doing just fine. Like that very few teams have a 5th offensive lineman that's better than Josh Myers. To a couple, yes, but not many. he's not a bad starting NFL lineman where it's like, oh, this is not a Royce Newman situation, guys. It's just not. Do you want more? Yes. Is he always going to be compared to Creed Humphrey? Yes. Do you wish that he was a consistent, center and one of those, top 10, 15 centers in the league? Yes. But are you losing games because of it? No, I don't believe that. I think he is a serviceable center as long as he's the fifth best guy in your line. But if he has to be the fourth, the third, the second, you're going to be in trouble. That's going to be a big issue. And I still wish there was more competition there and somebody to push him even more? Absolutely. Can you get better there? Yes. Do I think that maybe you could go with an offensive line of, Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Elton Jenkins, Jordan Morgan, and Zach Tom? Yeah, I think that could potentially work. And I wouldn't be opposed to trying it at some point. But I think the difference between Josh Myers and the next guy up, in this case, probably Sean Ryan, it's not that great. And to me, that is not the reason that Green Bay is losing games. But he needs to be more consistent. We've been saying it for 4 years now. But we're probably in the final year of Josh Myers as Green Bay center. I think that's probably safe to say. And we'll see if at some point maybe they start working in another center like they did at right guard. That's a tougher thing to do at center, like I said, with all the communication stuff. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see if they have any appetite for that. But listen, Josh Myers would be a starter on 28 teams in this, and like depending on if they could use him at guard or move their center to guard or whatever. But just in general, he's probably a starter on 28 teams in this league. So I don't think that that's the reason. But would I like it better? Would I like it more consistent? Hell yeah. Sign me the hell up for that if that could be a thing. Fenrir, thank you so much for that. How do you think Jordan will come back once he's better? I know he didn't play great on Friday and then had the injury. Are quarterbacks in his spot more gun shy, more aggressive, or does it vary? I think we don't know quite enough yet about Jordan to know how he'll handle that situation, but we do know he's extremely steady and he's going to do everything that he can to be the best quarterback that he can be week in and week out, make the right reads, make the right checks, get it, out of his hands. If anything, I think there's actually a piece of this that could theoretically help him, meaning, just go through your progressions, get the ball out of your hand and let the playmakers do the heavy lifting. And quite frankly, I thought that was when the offense was at its best in the second half of last year. Now, Jordan made some spectacular plays, no question about it, but save those until you absolutely need it. And in the course of the game, just run the offense, get the ball out of your hands, let your playmakers work. And I think if he can do that when he comes back from injury and not worry about the big plays or trying to buy time or do anything like that, just focus on your fundamentals, rip that ball in there, hit your guys in stride and let them do the work. I think that can be a very positive way for Jordan to come back. And then you can have the full, complete Jordan Love as the rest of the season goes along. So no real concern there. I think you can absolutely build an offense for Jordan to be successful, even if he's not the most mobile. And he's just going to be probably him getting rid of the ball a little bit earlier, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Like I said, I think the offense can work really, really well in that situation. All right, where do we go here? Autumn, do you think Ja Money rebounds? There we go. Seem dazed or off in Brazil. Love him, but want more this year. So a couple of really good plays from Ja in this game. Early in the game, he came up and made a tackle aggressively, which is something that you really love to see from him because that's been something that's been waning a little bit from his game. Obviously had the big interception. You would love him to maybe just keep it in the end zone and kneel it down, but still it's a huge interception and a really, really good play, a really, really smart play in that situation. So that was awesome. Had a pass breakup later in the game where he probably would have come up with another pick had it not been for the fact that maybe a little bit of offensive pass interference, that the wide receiver just doing everything that they could to make sure that that was not intercepted. Would have liked to have maybe seen a little bit more of that from Luke Musgrave on the other side, but I digress. Those are the things that went really well. On the flip side, two plays in general. One, there's a couple of missed tackles, but the out and up, that can't be that lazy. And that's what it is. You're not moving your feet. You're just guessing and just play defense. Just play corner the way that you were born to play. You can jump anything. He has the oiliest hips, at least up there in the NFL. He can close. He's got great speed. All you have to do is play it the right way. And at minimum, that's not a touchdown. Even if you give up a completion, tip your cap, but that can't be a 70-yard touchdown, whatever it ended up being. So that was extremely disappointing. And then I talked about it the other day, and I talked about it with Mike Wall today. We brought it up again, and you'll hear that on tomorrow's episode. But when you have a corner that's coming off the edge and you have one more guy than they can block, and it's a 3rd and 7, you need to play the sticks. And you've got Keyshawn Nixon coming unblocked off the edge, and he's got A.J. Brown on a 3rd and 7, and Brown just runs a comeback, and it's easy as pie. Not only do they get the easy completion, but Brown turns around and still, because Ja's playing so far off, he has time to make him miss and break the tackle and go even further. That cannot happen. If Ja plays him at the sticks and probably is just playing tight man coverage in that situation, at the worst case scenario for Green Bay is that it's a pass breakup for Ja and they're punting a play later. Or you maybe read it and he picks it off, pick six maybe, or like all of a sudden now Hurts, because he sees Ja there, doesn't pull the trigger, and Keyshawn Nixon just drills him, and it's either a sack or a sack fumble, and maybe Green Bay recovers and goes the other way. But him playing off and not anticipating that, because here's how you have to think of that as a corner, right? If he runs another out and up, right? He's not going to have time to get the out and up off. Keyshawn's going to be there nailing him before he can throw the out and up. So you can't really be as worried about it in that situation. It's just the crazy dynamic of this game is if he plays careful on the out and up, on the first one when they didn't have a blitz on, if he plays careful on that one, there's no touchdown there. And if he plays aggressive on the one where he knows somebody's coming, he might have a pick six. So it's just, you've got to know everything that's going on that play. And I don't want to be too over the top about this. There could be a situation, a coach could have told him to do something, somebody made him play off coverage in that situation. I don't know the whole story, but on film, that's what it looks like. You have to have a little bit more situational awareness in that exact type of situation, in both of those situations. But do I think he can bounce back? Yes. I thought he had a phenomenal training camp. I thought he was fantastic. Do I think he can play better than that? Yes. Hopefully the field conditions and whatever, just a bad first game. And he had some really big plays in a bad game. So that's noteworthy as well. Now, can he just get rid of a couple of those negatives, which more often than not he does? Can he tackle a little bit better? Not sure about that, but just needs to be better and more consistent all the way around from Jair, especially when you are anticipating and expecting him to be your number one corner. Great question, Autumn. If Halfley and this defense wets the bed and Love's absence results in a playoff absence, do you think he'd be gone and Matt would be on the hot seat? No, nobody is on the hot seat and nobody's gone after this year. I will mark it down right now. Goody, LaFleur, Halfley, Steno, and Bisaccia will all be back next year. There's no question about it in my mind. I would be beyond stunned if anything like that happens. For one, Matt's got more than enough goodwill and is thought of as, a really, really good coach in this league. He's not going anywhere. Goody's certainly not going anywhere. And Matt has to be careful with coordinators. He's changed coordinators a lot. You do not want to be the guy that just is any sign of a problem. You're just, nope, coordinators are gone. I'd be pretty stunned unless, one of those guys gets a head coaching opportunity, or unless, I just don't see it. I don't think anyone's on the hot seat. Don't think there's a soul in that building that's on the hot. Maybe some players that need to play better. But I don't think there's a single person in the administration, in the front office, in the coaching staff that is quote unquote on the hot seat right now. Maybe could there be a position coach if a certain group of players just completely craps the bed, like you're saying? Yes, maybe there could be something like that, but no big name changes. I'd be pretty stunned in the offseason if anything like that happened. But they're going to be just fine, by the way. They're going to be just fine. Space Main, do you think we can get Matt Flynn to come back? I do not think we can I'm sure you could. I don't think that'd be a good idea. Very excited to see what Malik Willis can do. Hopefully he can bring his A. Maybe he can have a 6 touchdown game like Matt Flynn. Was it 5 or 6? 5? 6? Why do I think it was 6? But either way, crazy game for Matt Flynn. Got him a massive contract. Hopefully Malik Willis can do something like that in this one. Gavin Braceno, thank you for the super chat. Handy, big fan, daily listener. Do you think Love will play in LA in 4 weeks? I'm from here and I'm bringing 6 family members. It's also my first football game. It would suck if he did not play. If he wasn't going to, you would think there'd probably be maybe a little bit more chance that maybe they would put him on IR or something like that. But I would love to tell you that I have any sort of inside read on this or anything. The fact that whether it's subterfuge or not, that they're not ruling him out for this week is probably a good sign. My guess is he's back by the Rams game. I would be willing to bet that he's back by the Rams game, but that's not based on anything. So don't quote me on it. Don't, hold me to it. But if I were betting today, my guess is he's back by the Rams game. But either way, make it loud for Green Bay. That should be a pseudo home game would be my assumption. No Puka Nacua for that game. That was a big update today. He did go on IR. So Puka Nacua will be out, Rams versus Packers. And hopefully Jordan is back by that time. Thanks for the question, Gavin. High powered. I'm calling it Evan Williams game ending pay. Well, Evan Williams got to get on the field first. That was one of the biggest surprises to me. I talked to Justice about that. He was less surprised, but just like they got, again, 15 snaps for Jordan Montgomery, 15 snaps for Edgerrin Cooper, and obviously rounding here a little bit. They got a handful of snaps for Carrington Valentine. Did a couple of those things. I thought there'd be a handful of Evan Williams plays in there just to get his feet wet, get him a little bit of confidence out there. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Maybe that'll change in week 2, but he's got to get on the field first in order to get a game-ending pick. And hopefully that's not due to any sort of injury, because we certainly do not want that. Brandon Cowles, math question for you. Solve for X. Packers will win if they can hold the X under X points. Hold the Colts under X points. I think Green Bay can put up 20 in this game. I think they can put up 20. So I think you really want to keep them under 20. If they keep them under 20, I think they've got a really good chance. If you keep them under 17, like if it's 16 or less, I think Green Bay just wins. And if it's anything single digits, Green Bay should win easy. But that's a tough bar, right? 20 in the NFL is a pretty low bar for an NFL offense. But I think if they can keep them under 20, I think Green Bay's got a good chance in this one. And let's like I said, it's not an easy ask in any way, shape, or form. Matthew Freilich gifted 10 Pack-A-Day podcast memberships. Matt, appreciate you, buddy. It's very kind of you. Matt, of course, the star of the Saturday Pack-A-Day podcast episodes. Yeah, Saturday with Eli and Jen. Obviously, all 3 of them are stars. But Matt, appreciate you a ton. Huge fan of your work, and so thankful that you are part of the Pack-A-Day podcast team, and very nice of you to do that. Vex, the 2-point conversion call was beyond criminal by Matt LaFleur. I don't mind the decision to go for 2. Probably a little early in that situation, but you get it at the 1. So I get the decision there in that situation. Don't mind it. Needs to be a better play call. No question about that. So if you're talking about the play call, I definitely agree with that. And also, Josh Myers just biffed that one too. Like he just completely falls over and misses his block, not due to slippage. It did not look like. So, sometimes, if Josh Myers makes that block, maybe it looks like a great play call, but you got to execute. And I still would have liked probably something a little bit different in that situation. And then, the other thing that I will say is there was a 2-point decision later where he probably should have gone for it and didn't. And that was a little bit of an iffy decision there too. So just some kind of wonky 2-point conversion decisions. And obviously the one with a little bit of a mediocre play call on that one. Jay Western, your question to LaFleur made the rounds on the NFL shows today. Just heard Matthew Berry discussing his answer to you. Which one? The what was inconsistent? That's interesting. Unless I asked 2 questions. I asked the inconsistent one. Oh, and then I asked the one about how much of the playbook that Malik Willis could know. That would seem to be the one that would maybe make the rounds more. But you'll have to let me know, Jay Western. I'm not sure which one it was. Unless it was somebody else, and then in which case it was not me, because I think I only asked 2 questions. All right, I'm going to get to some member questions here. Cheddarhead, Josh Myers whiffed his block on that. Yeah, we just talked about that, buddy. He certainly did. Ben thanking Matt for the for the memberships. Appreciate that. Love it. Absolutely love it. I got tickets to the Rams game. Hope you're right. Make that place loud, guys. It was 6. I was there. All right, so 6 TDs. I thought it was 6 TDs, but I couldn't remember. Jonathan Hale had me covered too. Cooper. So here's the fun thing. Let's talk about Cooper McDuffie really quick. This is the classic situation where you have one linebacker in Isaiah McDuffie who understands the playbook maybe better than anyone at this point, right? He's run a little bit of it with Jeff Hafley in the past, or at least has that connection there, is very familiar with everything that Jeff's trying to get done. Really big time hustle guy. And he's actually a really good athlete too, is what it kind of goes underrated, but like that's what he has going for him. And then you've got Edgerrin Cooper, who is just young, inexperienced, going to make mistakes, probably doesn't know the playbook quite as well, is going to need a little bit more hand-holding, but is just a freak. And we all see it. It is just an absolute athletic specimen in all the best ways and exactly what you want on the field. But as a lot of people have said, I've seen a lot of people say this, okay? I've seen, I don't know how many comments of, hey, Goody does too much with RAS and needs to get guys that are just good instinctual football players. Isaiah McDuffie's a pretty darn good instinctual football player, and Edgerrin Cooper's a freak athlete. So which way do you want it? But it's just one of those things where Cooper just needs to play more. Green Bay knows it. Matt LaFleur said this week he anticipates Cooper playing more this week, and it might be 20 snaps this week and 25 the following. And hopefully that ramps up to 55, 60. And I think he has the ability to be the best linebacker on this team. I really do. But it's going to take time. But he needs the snaps in order to continue to get better. And then you just hope he grows and flourishes. There's a lot of really fun stuff on that tape in the 11, 12 plays that he played this past week. He needs to be more consistent, as a lot of these guys do, but he's a really, really fun player. And it's just going to be a matter of time. Edgerrin Cooper is going to play a lot of snaps for this Packers defense in his career. You just got to settle in a little bit. He's now healthy, just getting in there for reps for the first time. Give him a hot second. But like I said, he's going to play a lot of snaps of defense for this team. Andy, can you help explain to me why I'm sort of expecting to win this game? Our playmakers give me so much confidence. The O-line just needs to be good. This all comes down to Malik Willis, right? Like there's three versions of this. It's somehow he has a ridiculous performance that nobody's expecting. And I think that's probably like a 5% chance. And then you get probably this coin flip of the other 95% where it's either he's serviceable and okay, and you can try to find a way to win a game with him, not because of him, but with him. And then there's the other 50% of that, or the 47.5% of that, where he's just bad and you just can't win with him. Think back to Brett Rippon on the Rams last year, and Brett Rippon just couldn't do anything. And Malik Willis with the Titans, when he got opportunities to start, he was still a freak athlete then. He still had a really big arm then. And the only game that they won, they rushed for 300 yards in that game. So listen, I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. It's probably dumb optimism. It's probably a fool's hope, but I do think that Matt is a really good coach that can find a way to sort of reverse engineer this into a win somehow, but it will not be easy. This could be a train wreck. It absolutely could. If you said that this is like a, 15-point Packers win or an absolute train wreck, I'm betting train wreck. It would be my guess. I think that's probably more likely, but what happens when you don't have your QB1 or your guy that can win you games is your room for error just goes so far down, and the amount of outcomes that you have, the ways that the game could go, there's probably just more for the Colts. Like there's more ways for the Colts to win this game than there are for Green Bay to win this game. It's not exactly the Doctor Strange. It's just there's one way, and you got to find that one way, which by the way involves some very crazy things. If that, what was it? Some animal doesn't walk on the time machine in the little prison area, the whole thing doesn't work because Ant-Man never comes back. We could go on a whole thing about that. I will go on for a while if you want, but some very strange things that needed to happen for that one thing to go that way. But I digress. I think there's way more opportunities for Malik Willis to come up with a win than the Avengers. But it could go a lot of wrong ways. But I am weirdly optimistic as well. So maybe it's just the homer in me, I don't know, but give me some Malik Willis. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I'm hopeful, fingers crossed, he can find a way to win this one. All right. Luke Floyd, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Really appreciate that as well. Again, if you guys have not signed up for memberships yet, starting tomorrow, every week, Aaron Nagler and I are going to be doing members only for both Cheesehead TV and Pack-A-Day, where you get an extra breakdown of Aaron and I breaking down the upcoming game. So we talk Colts Packers today. That'll be up tomorrow morning. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Let's see. Where did we leave off here? The percentage of the playbook question. There we go. Interesting. And I thought he gave a good answer to it. I kind of expected him to be like, what did he say? Something to the effect of, it's impossible to answer that question, but they'll know 100% of the game plan. It's a good answer. I actually really like that answer. So I'm cool. That's cool that it made the rounds. Thought on Eric Stokes after this game. I liked what he did. Not perfect. I had a slight negative grade on him, but overall, first game back, didn't really show any signs of rust. Had one really bad missed tackle, I think, late in the game. But overall, from a coverage standpoint, I thought he looked more than serviceable. Looked like he belonged out there. Looked like a starter. That's maybe one of the bigger wins that came out of this. Is like it looks like he's a starting corner again, and that there was no guarantee of that at all at any point. Like coming back from injury last year, he looked really rusty coming back. The year before that, even before he got hurt, he looked really bad in the opening of his second season. So there was no guarantee that he was going to come back and look serviceable. Now, long way to go. Job not done. He needs to continue to be consistent, but I thought that was a really solid opening game from him and gave me a lot of hope for him moving forward. What are the silver linings of the situation this weekend, assuming Matt LaFleur is just gaming and Jordan Love doesn't play? I don't know. I pretend, or I like to think that I'm an optimist, I should say. I don't know that there's a silver lining towards Malik Willis playing. I guess the silver lining would be if Malik Willis somehow goes up and tears it up. and, maybe he gets, a little bit of confidence and it feels like, hey, maybe you have something there. Outside of that, it would be better if Jordan was there. Now, maybe you learn a way to win, you overcome adversity a little bit. There's a couple things like that can hit, but I would rather just have Jordan and go about trying to win this football game. High powered, who makes the first Lambeau leap this Sunday? You know what? Screw it. I'm going Malik Willis. I'm going, he has a bootleg or a keeper, a read option, something. I'm saying Malik Willis scrambles, gets into the end zone. First Lambeau leap for 2024 is Malik Willis, of all people. Who would have thunk it? Would you rather see Willis at 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, or 4 touchdowns, 2 and 0 every single time? No turnovers needed. No turnovers needed. No questions about it. Give me 2 and 0. That has nothing to do with Willis. Give me Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. Put any quarterback in there. Bubby Brister, Steve Bono, Dave Craig, anyone you want to put in there. Give me 2 touchdowns, 0 picks every time. Walker had a rough game. Do you think that's an anomaly? I'm assuming you mean Rashid, unless you mean Quay. But yeah, I'm not concerned about Rashid. I think he will bounce back, and I think he'll have a really nice season. A little bit of a tough game for him. Maybe he struggled with the conditions. No idea, but he'll bounce back. He'll have a good season. I'm not super concerned about that. Walker had a huge whiff on that Saquon touchdown. If he stays in the gap, he probably gets the stop. I posted that one on Twitter, Joe. First of all, the reason that gap is there in the first place, and Quay is going to his gap, by the way. Quay is responsible for that gap. At least that's what it very much seems like. Again, I don't know the play call 1,000,000%, but basic football 101 would say he's responsible for the gap that he attacked. Kenny Clark gets thrown 2 gaps over. He's trying to eat a double team, and he just gets thrown right out the club, completely out of the picture. So Quay is going to do his job. All right. And you might say, hey, sometimes you need some improvisational ability and you need to go off script. I get it. But what the coaches have probably been drilling in these guys' heads since the new staff got there is just do your job. Don't go off script. Do your job, do your job, do your job. And on this play, Kenny did not do his job. If I'm putting fault on this play, it is far more on Kenny than it is on Quay Walker. Am I absolving Quay Walker entirely? No. The other thing I will say, if you watch this, there's a double team to Quay's right. All right. If you watch football, what happens in those situations is the offensive lineman, they'll double team the defensive lineman, and then the one closest to the linebacker will come off of that and go to Quay to block Quay. So as a linebacker, you see this a million times a year. This is football, again, 101. They're doubling the defensive lineman. Offensive lineman's going to come over and block you. So he is anticipating that offensive lineman is going to come and block him, which he was trying to do, except the offensive lineman slipped on the grass and fell over. So Quay goes to eat the block so he can almost like ricochet off the block and then go to Saquon, filling the gap that he is responsible for, because Kenny's supposed to be to his left and there's not supposed to be a semi-truck sized hole to his left. But instead, the offensive lineman falls down. He's going to take on the block. And instead, it's like the chair getting pulled out from underneath you. He's got nothing to brace on. And now he's lunging and leaning one way on a slick field. And Saquon just has to do an easy cutback because Kenny's 2 gaps over where he's not supposed to be. Can Quay have maybe played that better? Yes. Can I see every ounce of what Quay was thinking on that play to do exactly what he did? 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. So to me, if we're going to put blame on that particular play, Kenny, far more to blame. Can Quay played it better? Sure. Would other linebackers maybe have found a way to make that play? Probably. Can I understand every step of his thinking there? Absolutely. So that's what I honestly, there are going to be bad plays in the game. And what I always look at is, can I understand why you were doing what you were doing? And if I can understand your thinking on it, and of course I don't get to talk to him. I mean, potentially in the locker room in our press conference, I could ask, but when I'm watching the film, I can't ask them. But if I can look at it and be like, I understand what they were trying to do. I can see what they were thinking, and I can understand how they would get to that conclusion. And there's less for me to be like, oh my God, this guy completely effing sucks. Get him off the field. I watched that play live and I'm like, oh my God, Quay freaking Walker. What are we doing? Like, this is 3rd year of this now. And then you watch it back in the film and I see exactly what he's thinking. I know exactly what's going on there. And I don't have a major problem with it. So that's where I would put that play. It's still an interesting one. Green Bay just needs to be better all the way around on that play. But again, I can see what Quay was thinking on that one. Let's see. need to lean on that defense this weekend. Who steps up to the plate and makes the defense what it needs to be? It's not going to be a guy. There is no guy. Can Rashawn Gary be better to get more pressure? Yes. Can Kenny Clark hold up against the run better? Yes. Can TJ Slayton hold up against the run better? Excuse me. Yes. Can everyone on defense can do better than what they did this past week. Xavier McKinney was the closest to being like, yeah, that was a good game. That was the closest. And I think even Xavier can play better than that. It's not any one person being like, I'm going to take over this defense and we're just going to be unstoppable now. It's going to be everyone doing a little bit better than they did this past week, playing what the way that they are capable of, and playing as a team, rallying to the football, setting the tone, and playing fast physical football. That's what's needed. It's not, I would actually very much argue after rewatching this game, there were some scheme things that they were not set up. Mike Wall does a great job of diagnosing that. You can check that out on tomorrow's episode. There are some things that could have done better, no question about it, but I didn't have massive issues with the scheme. I didn't have massive issues with the way that they were being asked to play. I had issues with how the players executed, and it just needs to be better. And I think it will be. I really think it will be going forward. May not be this week. It may take a little time. There's a new defense for everyone, but I very much think it will be better going forward. All right. I think I missed a couple super chats here. Is there any chance Love only misses 1 week? Do you think Jordan can overcome playing injured like Rodgers? He honestly played better when injured. Yeah, I think there's a possibility he could only miss 1 week. I'm still not completely ruling out this week. I'll say it one more time. I would say 90% that he's out. I think it's at 90%. I think there's a small sliver of a chance that he could play this week. Probably just subterfuge, probably just gamesmanship. I understand that. I'm not having the wool fully pulled over my eyes, but I do think there's a small chance that he could maybe play if everything just gets cleared in time. I know they're rehabbing, a ton of time. And listen, you only get so many shots at this thing. There are 16 more shots, so if you got to load up for every game that you can to try to make sure that you're getting a chance at the playoffs if you can. So if he has any sliver of chance to play, they will give him through this week. But do I think you could potentially play next week? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think you play the week after that? Yes. Could he be out 3 more weeks? Sure. And this is an inexact science. And one of the things I just want to say too is I've seen people posting of like, well, this player came back with a sprained AC or MCL in this amount of time, and this player came back even faster. And it's every MCL sprain is different. It's like saying everyone's flu is the same or everyone's COVID is the same. Everyone has it a little bit different. It's not always the same. It can depend on the severity of it and what one person's sprained MCL might be. And they may be able to come back and play almost 100% the next week. Another person might be missing 6 weeks. So it's not this just apples to apples of like, oh, this guy came back from a sprained MCL in 1 game, so Jordan will be back in 1 game. It's not that simple. And I don't have his chart, my chart in front of me to diagnose of like, looks great. Even if I did, I wouldn't know how to interpret it. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But the way I read it is hopefully sooner rather than later, and we'll kind of go from there. Well, Ja finished out his current contract, and there's no chance, right? And I'm not saying that he couldn't get an extension and make it different, but his current contract will not finish as is. So this year he's got $23 million. Next year, $25 million with an $18 million dead cap. I don't know, maybe they look to restructure some of that next year. Then 2026, $27 million, man, with $17 million dead cap. That's not great. No matter what. Actually, no, sorry, that was savings. Sorry, only $10 million dead cap in 2026. So 2026, probably the earliest that they could get out of it. They would save $17 million by doing that. They could even get more than that if they did a post-June cut June 1st cut. So no, I don't think there's any chance that he just plays through this thing to 2026 and it goes all according to plan. There'll either be a release at some point, a trade at some point, or they restructure him and keep him longer and kind of do the Preston Smith thing. All right. Thoughts on Jordan Morgan's first game? Appreciate the day in and day out trench work, Andy. Luke, you are more than welcome, my friend. I thought it was a very promising first start. Mike Wall may have put it best. I don't want to spoil all of Mike Wall's awesome takes of like, there's nothing on tape that made you go, holy cow, Green Bay really got a dude. Like, look at what this guy's already doing. But there's only one play where it was like really like, oh, he got beat on that one. And that was by Jalen Carter, and Jalen Carter is just going to happen from time to time. I thought overall he acquitted himself well, did not look out of place. For me, he graded slightly better than Josh Myers in this game. And my guess is we see a little bit more Jordan Morgan this week, a little bit less Sean Ryan. My guess is Sean Ryan still starts. My guess is Sean Ryan still plays at least 50% of the snaps, maybe a little bit more. But I think Jordan Morgan plays a little bit more than what he did last week. So I think a promising first start, just needs to continue to get better. Very good athlete, just needs to work on the fine tuning of everything. Okay, guys, maybe a couple more here. My prediction is if Green Bay wins, he stays out for the Titans and comes back for the Vikings. If we lose, he comes back for Tennessee. I could understand that, Joe. I see the thinking there. I think, honestly, that sounds good. It'll be based on the medical. If he's good to go, I don't think they're going to hold him back. And if he's not good to go, they're not going to push him. I honestly think it's that simple. I think they understand that these 2 to 3 weeks in the entire scheme of Jordan's contract and career are nothing. And it seems like the world is ending right now that Jordan's not in there and you want him back as soon as possible. And the season could be on the brink if you lose a few games here. In the scheme of Jordan's career, these 2 to 3 weeks will matter in a very minuscule way. So they'll completely focus on the medical side of things. But at the same token, if he's cleared, they're going to get him out there. They also know that, again, there's a finite amount of games this year, and you need to try getting some W's so you can get some wins and have a little bit of leeway so you don't have to go, 9-3 to end the year to get in the playoffs. 10 will be braced up and play this weekend. We'll see. Like I said, I think 10% is where I'm at right now. 10% chance. Aaron Rodgers had good stats because of 3 players. He, I don't know, he threw up this game, could be decided by him. Oh, Anthony Richardson. If you're bringing AR to a Packers chat, I'm sorry, that's going to be Aaron Rodgers for a while still. Yeah, so Anthony Richardson had good stats because of 3 prayers he threw up. There we go. That makes more sense. Listen, this is high risk, high reward play. He is a home run hitter. He's the 200 hitter in baseball that hits 50 home runs a year. He's not going to hit for average very often, but man, is he going to crush the freaking ball. He's going to have a couple deep balls, maybe each game that he hits on. He's going to have some explosive plays in the run game. He will make some big time plays. And then the rest of the game, he might just strike out a lot. That's what we're kind of seeing from Anthony Richardson right now. He is a agent of chaos in all the different ways. He could be, if he went 17 of 18 for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, another 100 yards rushing, could he do that on some occasion? Yes. Could he have a 5 for 17 game for 50 yards and 3 picks? And I think he could. And could it be anything in the middle? Yeah. He's an agent of chaos. You don't know what you're going to get play in and play out. It's an exciting brand of football. I'm excited to watch him, quite frankly. I think we could get some very unique quarterback play from Malik Willis and Anthony Richardson this week. Clearly, huge advantage Richardson. I'm not trying to spin it any other way, but I think we could get some fun, unique quarterback play where you expect some big things to happen, expect some bad things to happen, and just kind of brace for chaos a little bit. Which, by the way, if your starting quarterback is out, you take chaos and you flip the coin and you hope it turns up the way that you called it. That's about as good of a way that it could go in this scenario. So chaos isn't the worst thing in the world when your quarterback is out. Big thanks to your wife and kids for sharing their time with us. The best, the absolute best. I'm blessed beyond blessed. And so much now, it isn't as much of a factor. I try to do as much of it as I can at night and now during the day that it's my full-time job. Obviously, Sundays get taken up in season, but when the kids were younger, that was a big thing. And obviously, I wasn't doing it as a full-time job then. It was just kind of a hobby. And thankfully, it's amounted to this, and it is all kind of paid off. But I owe them a ton. I owe them an absolute ton. No question about it. Favre and Rodgers both know, use the power of the almighty. Oh, we're not going there, King Kermit. If we lose, let's just say 3 games while Jordan is out, do you think we could win enough games to still make the playoffs based on what you saw last game? Yes, but it's going to be very hard. I forget who I was talking to. This just feels like this is going to come down to just like it did the last 2 years. It's going to come down to the final couple weeks of the season. 2 years ago with Aaron, they couldn't get that final win and they ended up out of the playoffs. And last year they got those final 2 wins. They got a little bit of help and they got in the playoffs. So I think it could easily be something again. My guess is they finish 9-8, 10-7. And the difference between the two might be whether they get in or not. 10-7 gets them in, 9-8 might not. or 9-8 might get them in, and 8-9 might not. I think the line is going to be very thin, and I think Green Bay is going to be right on it. And it's going to be up to them. And last week, by the way, was a winnable game, and they let that get away, and hopefully that does not haunt them. I think this week, Malik Willis or no Malik Willis, will be a winnable game. Can they come out with that win? You don't want to have to go 9-3, 9-4 in your last 13 or 12 games to get into the playoffs. Not with the schedule. The schedule's difficult. There's no Carolina on the schedule. There's no New York Giants on the schedule, which may be good because they lost to them last year. But you get my point. The easiest of the easiest teams are not on the Packers schedule. Arizona at home. Arizona's still going to be tough. Chicago at home will maybe be a little bit easier. Chicago on the road, that's going to be their Super Bowl. Again, Minnesota looks better. Sam Darnold looked really good that first game. Maybe just because they went against the Giants, that could be the case, but they look good. Same thing with the Saints. Like, they probably just because they went against the Panthers, but Saints beat up Green Bay last year until Green Bay had that improbable comeback. That's not going to be an easy game. Like, there's just not, and then you get, of course, San Fran, Miami, Houston, the Lions twice. I'm missing a couple in there too that are tough games. Jacksonville is going to be a really tough game. Like, it is not an easy schedule. It's very difficult to go on the schedule and just be like, that one's a guaranteed win. The easiest games of their schedule, by the way, Colts and Titans, and they might have to do both of them without their starting quarterback. Those might have been the ones where you're like, yeah, they're going to get wins in those games. And now it's like, that's not going to be as easy. So that does give me a little bit of worry. John Stockton, why am I live? Because I did a little schedule thing where I scheduled it and then I just clicked go live and I was live. So Wednesday nights, Pack-A-Day Live, 7 p.m. I might have to change it because soccer practice is ending up going very late for my son. And I'm getting back right at 7:01. So I'm very much on the cusp. So I might need to change it to 7:30. But yeah, I'm live because I chose to go live, I guess, to answer questions. Yeah, that's all I got. That's a perfect way to end it. I'm live because I wanted to be. You guys are the absolute best. 22 super chats. Unbelievable. 283 people in chat. Appreciate all of you so freaking much. We'll be back tomorrow for Pack-A-Day members only Q&A. So tomorrow, by the way, I'll say it one more time, great day to become a Pack-A-Day podcast YouTube member. You get the Aaron Nagler episode and you get members Q&A tomorrow. So if you want to ask more questions or just participate in the chat, you get to do that. So tomorrow's a great day to sign up. And thank you to Matt Freilich for gifting out 10 of those. And then also Friday, I'll be back with Happy Hour live again. I will choose to go live again. I will be live on Friday. So if you need a heads up of why I'm live, I will be live on Friday again, John Stockton. So thank you for that assist, John Stockton. But yeah, I'll be back live on Friday, 4 p.m. And then likely on Sunday, I will be at the game, of course. Then I'll go down to the presser, probably wait a couple minutes until traffic clears out. Then I'll head home. So I'm hoping 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe do a live post-game show at that point. So keep an eye out for that as well. That's going to do it for me today, guys. Appreciate you a ton, like I said. See you guys all tomorrow for a members Q&A. But until next time, and as always, go Pack, go.